social, I mean, we've already touched on this question a little bit, so maybe we keep this one short, but you've got social and ad type. How do you help mix paid and organic conversations to build the buzz around your event?
Right, okay, so let's start with organic first. I really like working with exhibitor sponsors and speakers to generate content like this, right? They're the thought leaders. They're going to be speaking at your event. There's no better way than doing pre-event kind of micro interviews with speakers, not necessarily about what they're going to be speaking about at the event as a session, but around the same industry topic and things like that. And actually, that's something you can add in as content that is part of that early bird mechanism, right? People who sign up early could get access to this kind of like Patreon style, kind of like these other kind of paid subscribers to influencers and things, those behind the scenes kind of content. I think that's a great way. You know, from a short 15-minute interview, you can have social clips. You can have a 15-minute podcast that people can listen to in the gym on the way to work or whatever. You can throw that through Claude and pull out kind of like a bunch of social tiles, which you can stick their image on and quotes and things like that you can then publicize. You can do an article out of that. Like from like a short 15-minute interview like this, you can have 30, 40 pieces of content, in my opinion, that you can stretch out. And if you can automate that using a platform like NAN or Zapier or Make.com or whatever, like if you get that set up, all you're doing is spending 15 minutes with that person, and then you've got all of that content from a marketing perspective. Even better is then if you can give them that content for them to share and then boost that, in my opinion. If you can put some marketing ad spend behind that stuff, then you're pushing their brand and their platform and things like that. And that feels a little bit more authentic rather than necessarily the brand doing it itself.
Yeah, we used a couple of those hacks with this this webinar series. Definitely pulled from like some B2C style playbooks, but moved them into LinkedIn. When you try to force a promotion, though, it almost never lands. So it's a real balance to how do you create content and hype in a way that is indirectly influential and is actually wanted to be digested versus this is a blatant shameless plug. So it's a balance. Iterate often. Keep trying. Marketing is like an ongoing challenge.
And if I could just add one more thing to that, give the speaker or the person that you've influenced or the partner something valuable to give away to their audience, right? They're able to give a gift. Do the old hack, like comment below if you want to be entered for this, or I'll send you the link, or I'll send you the report, or I'll send you the data, whatever, for every comment kind of thing. LinkedIn soaks that up. It loves that. That's class. It's a whole engagement metric. Boost, boost, boost. And it'll rank and it'll rise, and you'll get extra value out of it there.
Maybe we need to give an event news, tech news per client member access to that. If they're using HubSpot and they follow Event Tech News, maybe they get hooked up with a free software license and implementation through Happily.
You can do that.
All right. I like how we're making magic happen. What do you think,
I've got ad dollar questions.
What else can we give away? Oh, hit me. What do you got?
I've got ad dollar questions for you guys because I understand the concept of ads, but I'm not going to sit here and say that I've run ads for a client or anything before. Something that I used to talk about a lot with customers, when I was deep in the Marketing Hub implementation years of my life at HubSpot was like, thinking about where people sent folks with their ads to their site, right? And it wasn't like, oh, you have a landing page where you capture leads. Don't put 100% of the dollars into just sending people there. Like, it's okay to use an ad to send people to content you've created, that the goal is for them to just go and consume it and change their mind a little bit, and then they can convert after or something like that. When it comes to kind of like where you're spending your Google ads or social ads dollars, right? When it comes to like, having the goal of like driving more registration to an event, like, do you find that, we should be always sending someone directly to a registration page bar none and like rolling the dice the most to try to just drive up as many registrations as we can? Or like, is it a situation where we want to try to like put our ad dollars that would go to like a page that talks about the experience, and maybe it's, playing video from the last event and getting people super stoked about the event, but not necessarily just like, boom, you're met with a form to register, right? Or is it a situation where it's like all of that's got to be one page and that's what works the best, like creating a full-fledged experience, which, you know, those pages can get pretty complicated and crazy and beefy, right? And so like, I'm wondering, is there a balance to like, you know, when you're trying to drive the right kind of registration to an event, like how do you think about how you disperse those dollars around those different types of content experiences you can send people to?
Chris, do you want to take this one first?
I'm happy to. I think the first challenge is even the usage of the word balance just describes like a give and take. I really think you have to create marketing experiences and intentionality around a lot of those things. In the last session, and one of my super tricks I've tend to use pretty frequently is very aggressive promotional giveaway to like package something around the event with lots of fixings, VIP experience, hotels, travel, everything combined. And that way you're driving an insane amount of high value leads and registrations and retargeting that you can then use to go directly to the landing page that is the registration form. So is it a balance? No. Is there an awareness and an intentionality around it? Absolutely.
I would say on it that you really have to look at how complex your marketing funnel is and how many touch points you're picking up with somebody. If you were to just spray and pray with a PPC ad or a Google ad or a Facebook ad or something like that, and that call to action leads that person directly to a registration page, that person was probably 90% already going to register anyway. So if you're happy spending your marketing dollars on that and just to get that person through the funnel and registered, and you see that as a good return on marketing spend and things like that, then that's cool. That's up to you. But for me, I think that only comes into play at the point when you are using speakers and people and they're calling upon their network. That makes more sense for that to be a direct link to a registration page, because that person's bought into that person and that person being there, and that's the reason they're going to register for that event, or one of the major reasons they're going to register for an event. If you're doing general marketing spend, let's say you are a tech event and you're going to spend some money with TechCrunch on display advertising or something like that, I think you need to build landing pages around those personas to give value first and then nurture that in the lead up to it. You know, half a dozen pieces of value, and then ask them to register. And actually, you're going to have a better indication of what's really interesting them to going through that. And you've also obviously captured their data, so you've got that as lifetime value of that potential delegate. So even if you don't get them this time for the event, you get them next time for the event. I don't know the statistics, but I would imagine, you know, display ad to registration form, the bounce rate on that is probably sky high, I would imagine.
Yeah, like, and so it's because it's so interesting, because like mostly what I'm seeing with people is like, you know, they create their one registration page and like that's the way in, and if you get there, you get there, right? Whereas kind of what I'm hearing from you is you got to be really intentional on like how you're serving up that door to get in, and no, not everybody is going to want to go through the same door, and you got to make that door prettier for some people depending on what they think a pretty door is, right? To actually like you get into that event. And you know, it really reminds me of like with inbound, we think of like, you know, the stages of the buyer's journey, right? I mean, it's clear that there are stages of the registrant's journey, right? Like to your event in some way, shape, or form. And like, you want to more so think like a little more tactical, you know, around like who it is that I'm inviting and like, how can I serve up these, you know, front doors to my events in different ways, right?
Yeah, well said.